was a lot of dysfunction. Clearly, that was one of the reasons why, I chose to make my decision. But now, fast forward today, I don't look like the crazy one. I don't look like the guy that, or the quitter or whatever, the media want to call me. Like, I knew what was going on, and I just decided to, hey, I'm not built for this. Like, I don't want to deal with that.
Interesting. So this isn't the first time, right, that James Harden has addressed his departure from Brooklyn. He talked about it at his introductory press conference, and he did say one factor was that the big three just wasn't available to play a whole lot of games together. But this felt a little bit more pointed, Ramona. What did you make of it?
Well, look, now, because he was the first to go and he was the first to, quote-unquote, quit on the team, he was not in the place to say that. But I think now he can say more and more about his time there in Brooklyn because Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving have left as well. But yeah, I think with James, like, the narrative around James started because he wanted to be traded from the Houston Rockets to begin all this.
Right.
And we can't just forget that just because the other two guys also now have asked out and been traded.
Yeah, no, I noticed when we played against James with the Kings that, I could see on his face, it's different when, I've been on teams where things are, it's a mess. It's a disgusting mess. And it starts with an S and it ends with a T. But I can't say it on TV. But seeing James when he played against us, you could see by his body language, he just wasn't into it. You knew that something was brewing. Don't get me wrong, he was getting a double-double. He was playing at a high level, but you could just tell by his energy and spirit. And our coach, Rico Hines, said, you good, nephew? And he just looked at him, he's like, just rolled his eyes. So you knew it was going on for a while. And then, now everyone's like, okay, James wasn't crazy.
Look, I saw that sound, and I started laughing. I didn't think too much into it. I thought it was just the point that, like, hey, at one point I was looked to as the villain for going to 3 teams in 3 or less than 3 seasons. But really, we know that that picture wasn't fully painted. There were so many other things happening, and now that greatest theoretical team doesn't exist. I know I was the first, but I was not the whole, explanation as to why things went wrong. So I saw that clip, and I was like, you know what, it's funny. He's going to say it once. He's not going to say it too loud. And also, it helps when your team is only 3 games back from the Celtics for first. They're having a really strong season. He's evolved his game. He finally has a groove and a rhythm, and it seems like he's more comfortable speaking his piece, with regards to this whole situation.
Yeah, I don't know. As someone who was in Brooklyn every single day during that tenure with the Big Three when I was covering them as a beat reporter, when James left, to me, that didn't, and I saw it. I'm not saying it didn't exist, but to me, it didn't seem like, oh, you made a bad decision, you're the villain. It was so clear even then that this was starting to not work, just based on the availability of those 3 altogether, whether it was for injuries, for vaccination status, for all of these different things. I don't know that you can blame James for looking around and saying, hey, this isn't what I signed up for. And now he's sort of saying that. But Harden and the Sixers, they went 2-0 this weekend, wins over the Nets and the Knicks. But were they the team that won the weekend? Are they who you were looking at, Tristan?
No, the team I was looking at was the Cavs. The fact they were able to beat the Pelicans in New Orleans on a back-to-back, then go play against Chicago at home, 2 playoff teams, and especially with a Chicago team that's very desperate right now. They don't want to be in the play-in, and people are questioning their team. So with the Cavs, they're playing a high level. Evan Mobley looked like Tim Duncan, Chris Bosh, and the guy I want to give a lot of credit to is Darius Garland. He's keeping this team playing at a high level, keeping the ship running. Like, it's beautiful to watch them play right now. And, I'm a former Cav, so I'm going for it.
Yeah, right?
Come on now, put the banner up.
So when we talk about the teams at the trade deadline, there was a lot of teams in the news. One team that didn't do much, the Sacramento Kings, big win over Dallas. The Kings didn't do anything because they already have a good team. And De'Aaron Fox, great game, 36 points in that win over Dallas, and getting named to be the All-Star team.
I love it.
Okay, but still the narrative, what we led the show with was Ja Morant saying there's only one team that we have our eyes on, and it was the Boston Celtics. So there was a lot of hype into this matchup. And the Celtics won the weekend, in my opinion, because they've won 4 games straight. Also, you got to win versus Ja and the Grizz. With Jason Tatum, I think he was only 3 for 16 from the field, no Marcus Smart, no Jaylen Brown, and they had all but one player in double figures, 8 guys in double figures. This team looks like they're ready to really make that next step. They want to be in the finals. They want to win a championship. Their depth is going crazy. So if it came down to one team, I think that had the most eyeballs, it was the Celtics.
Sis, I'm going to back you up. I mean, the Celtics 15-4 since January 5th, the best record in the NBA in that span. it's the Celtics. They had just a monster weekend. What about the team, or excuse me, the player for you that was the MVP of the weekend?
I have to go maybe with Joel Embiid, just because anytime he plays against a New York team, whether it's the Knicks or the Nets, he goes crazy. He had 35-point double-doubles in both of those matchups, and it's just, I was just thinking to myself, 3 years in a row, the MVP race can come down to Joel and Nikola Jokic. And maybe, Jokic gets all three, but it feels like this guy deserves an MVP based on how he really starts the season. We've started to know it's a little slow because he's trying to get into his body, but later on, he just comes on so strong. So if they are able to continue to win at this pace, I think he will still, rival Jokic the way we've seen the last 2 years.
Yeah, Ramona, you already mentioned De'Aaron Fox. Yeah. Tristan, who you got?
The one I got, and he should have been an all-star. Should have been Darius Garland. Give some love to the little guy. For Darius, this is a whole new position that he has to take. Having Donovan Mitchell means more facilitating and getting guys involved. He took a backseat in terms of scoring, but name a guard in the NBA that didn't make an all-star team that had multiple 40-point games and a 50-ball. When his team needs it, he comes and shows and performs. And his turnovers late game have been much better this season. And guess what? I'm gonna stand on this right now. If they play the way they're playing right now, Cavaliers, Eastern Conference finalists.
Finalists. All right, so they're headed to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That long of a list.
JB Bickerstaff, come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like what Joel Embiid's doing. I like what the Cavaliers are doing. The Kings, it was impressive. Have we become so numb to greatness that we cannot give the Milwaukee Bucks their flowers? They are on a 10-game winning streak, and in that time, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's averaging 37 points per game, the second most in that span in the entire NBA. Are we really so numb to the this man didn't even need to play over the weekend for me to say he was the weekend winner. What he did on Friday was enough for me.
That's fair.
Giannis, keep doing you, man.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.